So welcome back to another episode. And in 1979, Ridley Scott blew us away, terrified us with a movie called Alien. A ship with one creature on it trying to destroy everybody. It was epic and it was scary as all hell. And I first saw the movie, I think in 1982, and it terrified me. I was like 8 years old. Watching Alien was an awesome thing to do. But that was it. Alien finished, and that's all we thought we would get. And then I remember sitting in the movie theater and seeing a trailer for Aliens. And I remember thinking, oh my god, there's more of them? Like, there's many aliens? Because there's an S at the end, which sounds so stupid, but what a great title name. I'll never forget it. Opening weekend, 1986. I went to stay with a friend of mine, Jeff. If anybody knows who's watched the show quite a lot, he's the guy who ripped me off with all those Nintendo games that he lent to me, and then he stole back, and then made me pay back, because I thought they were actually stolen, but he took them back and didn't tell me. What an asshole. Him. I went to stay with him and his dad downtown Vancouver here. And when we were staying out there, I was like, okay, cool, we're having a sleepover type of thing, that's fine. And I was in grade 6 at the time. And his dad's like, hey, let's go see a movie tonight. We're like, yeah, what movie? And he's like, Aliens. And we're like, really? Like, okay. But it sounds funny as a kid. You're just like, yeah, let's go and see it. You know, you don't have a lot of hype. I think when you get older, you have a lot more hype going in. And I just went into, okay, we'll watch the sequel to Alien. And it just took place directly where Alien left off, with Sigourney Weaver in the escape pod ship. And just being picked up, and it was like, I was just watching it, and I was in awe. And the one thing I always felt watching the original Alien was frustration. You always wanted the people, the humans in it, to be able to really strike the alien and do some damage and fucking fuck this thing up. And Sigourney Weaver does at the end of the movie. You get the payoff, but you were still frustrated. Every character that's getting killed, you're like, oh my god, this thing is unstoppable. The best thing in the entire universe was sending a military ship to go and wipe these things out. At least to check out what was going on to begin with, because they lost signal with the colony. They didn't know what was going on. But man, as a kid, it was the greatest action-adventure movie I still to this day have ever seen. And I've probably seen the movie 100 times. It's one of those movies that I bought every single version of. Right here, the double Laserdisc back in the day. You know, the Blu-ray collector's editions, single editions, Alien quadrilogies that I needed to pick up to get Alien. I've probably seen the movie 100 times. It was a movie that was always on a Saturday afternoon. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch it again. And it's the kind of movie that I get certain moods. I'm like, I want to watch Aliens again. I got to see Aliens. It is so good. It is a 10 out of 10 movie for myself. I love it to death. I love every single thing about it. I like the characters. I like the setting. I like the military, aspect of it all. The music by James Horner, who's unreal. James Cameron came in and did something that is very hard to do. He created an unbelievable sequel to a movie that in a lot of ways couldn't have a sequel, but it did. And it was nearly better than the original. I'm saying that as a compliment to Aliens being a sequel. Alien is a flawless 10 out of 10 movie as well. But Aliens came in and it just shocked audiences. I remember hearing, Siskel and Ebert, their review, they said, oh, this movie is disgusting. It makes you want to throw up watching it. And I thought, it's weird to watch that review years later. I'm like, what a compliment. This movie was pushing it so much. It really was messing with the audience. It really was intense for an audience in 1986. Even as a kid, I was like, whoa, this is really, there's some bothering kinds of things when you're a kid, the aliens bursting out of, people's chests and stuff like that. That stuff bothered me in the original Alien, but in Aliens, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of guts, there's a lot of intense scenes, I'll say. For a younger kid. As you get older, you just can eat it up for breakfast. It's not a big deal. But, wow, I gotta say that when we went to see that movie that night, there's that feeling when you're a kid and you walk out and you're just blown away. You have all of this enthusiasm. You don't know quite what to do with it. So we went back to his apartment for the rest of his sleepover, and we got out his G.I. Joes, and we reenacted the entire Aliens movie. You know, giving characters huge, pulse rifles and all that kinds of stuff. And we were just having our own little mini battles. It was a lot of fun, and that's the thing about Aliens. It's a lot of fun, and it's amazing. It's been 30 years, and the movie holds up incredibly well. There's a couple of, anniversaries lately. There's been the Big Trouble in Little China anniversary. There's the Aliens anniversary. And these movies mean so much to me from my childhood to my adulthood. And it's funny. I even said to Kim, I said, oh, God, the biggest urge to watch Aliens. This is like about a month ago. And we watched it. And it just fulfilled me completely. Everything about it. James Horner, I'm coming back to him again. Soundtrack. Through the roof. What do you guys think of Aliens? If you've never seen it, you must watch it. When I first started going out with Kim, she had never seen any of the Aliens movies. So we sat down and we watched Alien. And she's like, oh, that was amazing. And I said, do you want to see the sequel? And she's like, yeah. And it's so cool when you've never seen any of these movies. You watch the first one, and you watch the second one. It takes place just after that. I'm not ruining anything if you haven't seen it, but you know what I mean. And so Kim got to experience that in one sitting, where we had to wait a bunch of years to see a sequel to Alien, a sequel that we never thought we were getting. And James Cameron knocked it out of the park. I was already loving James Cameron for Terminator, and then to see Aliens was like, this guy's on fire, man. This guy is on fire. He really, and it's the first movie that really brought like anime style robotics into the mix. And as a kid, I was like, oh, those, the dock loaders were unbelievable. But all the tech in it, like the tank in there. Was it the APC tank? I think that's the name of it, off the top of my head. But it was so mind-boggling. And I just bought what they were selling in the way of the story and the characters. And it takes you on a roller coaster ride to such an ending. There's not a lot of movies like Aliens, is there? There really isn't. That stand the test of time, and they're so perfectly executed. And I know behind the scenes, James Cameron pushed the British crew to the max. And not that they weren't hard workers. He was just so intense and such a perfectionist. And he's a little bit hard to deal with back then. I think he was married to, his wife was the producer. And even James Horner was pushed to the max making this movie. I think everybody was pushed to their limits because Cameron had a certain vision for Aliens, and he was able to pull it off in such a way. And I think he probably had a lot of pressure. Like, I'm doing a sequel to Alien. I better impress Ridley Scott, or I'm going to be really embarrassed here. And what a wonderful thing. And it's, as I say, 30 years later, I'm sorry, I just wanted to come in and talk about it, the enthusiasm of it. It's just such a wonderful movie, such wonderful character acting in it, that all of the characters you feel for in so many different ways. And I had to come in and say my piece. So anyways, guys, until next time.